I have my special guest, Deborah Palmer, who is the author of Between Wounded and Well. And I am Judy M. Baker. I'm the creator of the Buzzworthy book experience and the Buzzworthy book Power Hour. I would love for you to introduce yourself, Deborah, and tell everybody about you and your book. And I didn't realize we had a San Diego connection because that's where I grew up.
Oh my.
I know. Is that wild or what? I mean, it's so funny. So tell everybody about you.
Well, thank you, Judy. I'm Dr. Deborah Palmer. I'm a retired nurse practitioner, a former educator, and now the author of a soon to be published memoir about a 14-year-old single mom with the desire to become a nurse. The name of the book is Between Wounded and Well, Lessons in Healing. It is a picture of my life from a very young age with the theme of healing and resilience in overcoming trauma and adversity.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I'm okay. I'm going to be a little nosy. Where in San Diego were you at the time? Or were you in a different
Well,
location?
I moved to San Diego to start a nurse practitioner program in the 80s,
Mm-hmm.
University of San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived in multiple areas across the county. I was married to I still am. My sweetheart was transferred there as a Navy attorney.
Oh, all right. Yep. For those of you who don't know, San Diego it still is, but it was a very big naval town, and I was born there. My very best friend growing up, her family was in the Navy, and they moved around, and then they came back. So I'm very familiar with it. And for a long time, San Diego was known for two things: the Navy and the San Diego Zoo. And then the third thing was we have two of the best schools ever, UCSD and San Diego State. I'm an alum of San Diego State, but I got my master's from USF. So that is so amazing to me. My goodness, you were 14? Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Wow.
And on top of that, at the conclusion of my memoir, in the last couple years of my mother's life, I found out I was put in an orphanage at birth. She retrieved me the week before I turned 6 months old. She almost didn't make it. And then she couldn't take care of me, so she put me in foster care. And I did end up in foster care one other time as a single mom with a baby.
Oh,
So I've gone through a lot, and I felt a calling to kind of share my story because it has a good ending. And I think it is a story of hope and healing, and it's very inspiring.
wow. That to me is so amazing right off the bat because um well, things are a little different these days than they were back when we were growing up. And I think I'm a bit older than you, not a whole lot, but a bit older than you are. And I know there were a couple girls in my class who had to leave school and they went away for about a year and then they came back because they had kiddos and it was not cool to do that. So even with it being a little less of a stigma, it still is not an easy thing to be a mom when you are, that young. And I think people don't recognize what kind of dynamics are happening. And it doesn't necessarily mean that either you as the kid or your parents are wrong. It's just something that happened and you have to kind of deal with it. So now you did some very important work as a nurse practitioner and you created a whole new program. And then now you've distilled it down into your book. So talk a little bit more about how that all came to be.
Well, I had the privilege of working under Dr. Vincent Folletti in my first nurse practitioner role. And he is the co-author of the Adverse Childhood Experience Study, which for many years went unrecognized, but in recent years has been determined to be one of the most important public health messages of our time.
Mm-hmm.
And his work over time influenced me as a nurse practitioner and helped me in my own healing journey to realize it wasn't what was wrong with me, it was what had happened to me. There is a relationship, a dose-response relationship between the number of adversities a child with an undeveloped brain up until age 18 undergoes and the chances of developing chronic diseases. It's very common. It was recognized through a huge Kaiser Permanente study, and this was primarily white, middle-class, educated people, and it was a shock, and doctors didn't want to talk about it. It was difficult to ask those personal questions. Have you ever been molested, raped, incest, parents abusive, neglectful, history of alcoholism, drug addiction, those kinds of questions.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one influence that contributed to the way I approach my patient care. And it's a topic that I address in my book, which is outlined in 4 stages, the 4 stages of wound healing. I use that as a metaphor for stages of healing in my own personal life. And then I had my next great job was to be one of the first ever orthopedic nurse practitioners. And I worked to help develop a national certification exam for orthopedic nurses. And eventually that was a focus of my PhD work when I realized that we are not all that different than family practice doctors were in the 60s. Back then, standardized education and training did not exist. Residency programs did not exist. There were no safeguards for the public. So I started looking at my career from that perspective. What can we do to safeguard the public by standardizing our practice? We already have as nurse practitioners in many areas, but not in the subspecialty areas. So that was another focus of my work.
Well, this is very timely on top of everything else. I had a spinal cord stimulator implanted on July 2nd. And this is after being in absolute agony for close to a year or a little more than that. I had varying things going on, and my orthopedic surgeon had suggested this, and I was going, I don't want to have back surgery because I've heard such terrible, terrible things. But I didn't understand how minimally invasive this is. And if I wouldn't have been such, I was so skeptical, I would have had it done last year and I would have avoided the time when I was like, I couldn't sit at my desk. I wasn't sleeping. I couldn't go for a walk because it felt like I had, I was getting jabbed every which way from Sunday. So she was persistent. And then she said, Here, I just did a talk. Watch the video. I'm going to talk about the device. And then you can make a decision. Because I had read about the other possibilities. And I was in so much agony. I was ready to go in for fusion, which, as you know, is not a walk in the park. And one of my other clients is having that done today. And she said, well, if the stimulator works, you may be good to go for the rest of your life. And if not, then by the time you need something else, it'll probably be a lot simpler. I couldn't believe it. It was like night and day. So I'm sure you saw a lot of that in your practice as well.
Yes.
What really stood out to you? And I liked your description of it being more like family practitioners in, back in the older days. But what really helped you formulate putting this into a book form, and who do you feel is your absolute ideal person to read this book?
I think I could credit the COVID pandemic for having a huge influence in me writing the book, because I stepped back, took time out. And during that time, I reflected on my 40 years of journals, and I summarized them into a 12-page document.
Yeah.
The other thing that happened during the pandemic is it reminded me of the horrors of working in an HIV critical care unit, which was not all that unlike a COVID ward. It was scary. We didn't know what was going on. that's when we all had to start using protective garb. And it triggered a memory of mine of what it was like for nurses working under scary circumstances
Yeah.
and fear and the unknown. And because of that, I felt I had to do something to help bring positivity to the forefront for my colleagues. I know they were struggling. So that those two things kind of motivated me to write it. And then the next question you asked is, who would be my ideal reader?
Yes.
I would say primarily women, unless you're a nurse and you're male, perhaps. Primarily women from 30 to 60 on average. However, I do think anyone interested in history,
Yeah.
because I go back to the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and I do a lot of comparing and contrasting.
Right.
So people interested in historical, kind of like historical fiction, but it's true.
Yeah.
And then anyone in the healthcare field of all social and physical health management, psychological health management. I've shared it with social workers. I've shared it with psychologists, as well as advanced practice nurses. I've shared it with Dr. Folletti. He loved it. And I shared it with the founder of the Family Justice Center, Casey Gwynn, down in San Diego. And he started a business for cheering for the children, kind of being advocates for children.
Yeah.
So it has a wide range of appeal. There is a faith connection to it, although I don't propose only one faith tradition. I just propose that you understand where your purpose comes from, where you get your strength, and what your reason for getting up in the day, so to speak, is. You have to find that, and sometimes that's associated with faith. So somebody who has a faith tradition might especially be attracted as well.
Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense to me. I'm just wondering, what I noticed at first, I did a little bit of snooping because that's just my nature. So I checked out your website, which is very nice. You've got that moving along. You did. Oh, I want to share something, and let's just see if this part works because I want to bring your I want to bring on screen your media sheet.
Everything's in progress. Nothing's official.
I know.
Okay.
Don't be worried about that. But okay, so now I'm still learning this software. So it's a little bit different than what I had been using, but I think I can bring it on. Deborah's done something really, really smart. And all of you want to do this.
Go to www.deborahpalmer.com.
Yeah, well, open the window for your website first. Then when you hit share, then you'll be able to select it.
Okay.
I know. Nothing is ever quite as simple as we think it should be. At least in my opinion. I have your URL so people will be able to do that. Oh no, I know what it looks like. I wanted to explain is this, that Deborah has done a media sheet, and there's actually more than one kind of sheet that all of us need as authors. A media sheet is really helpful when you're going out and you want to tell, say, a journalist, a reporter. It might be someone you're going to be interviewed by on a radio or television program. So you're giving them kind of it's a one page, usually one page, occasionally 2 pages, but it has your contact information. It has your lovely picture on it. And because you're doing a book right now, it shows that as well. Here. I did it.
There you go.
Okay, I did it. I just had to figure out kind of a workaround. So what Deborah did, she has this great picture of herself. She has the title of her book, and she has
Actually, that's not the current title. I thought my web designer corrected it, but thank you for pointing out she has not fixed it, because I thought she did.
Oh, this is frequently the case too. So you will get that updated. But what we're doing is we've got a little bit about Deborah. So you get a some background. She's saying what topics she can speak about. And then right here in the lower half, she's showing the book cover and the synopsis of the book. So you get a bio, you're getting how to reach her, you're getting information about her book. There's her email, her phone number, and her website. And why that's important, why that is important to have those things, you want to make it super simple. Let's face it, all of us are busy, all of us have things going on, but when you can actually, you know, give people what they need, and it's in a container, that makes it so much simpler. And then you look like a professional, because what you've done is you've given everybody what they need in order to get in touch with you. So you don't want to hide who you are, where to reach you, how to reach you. But that media sheet is going to change as you grow your visibility, because you're going to have more things on it. So mine looks very different, and I'd be glad to work with anybody who needs a media sheet, but that is a really good start. And the reason why, it's clear, it's easy to follow, you can see everything you need right there. And as you get more interviews done and under your belt, or articles under your belt, you'll be able to add those to that picture, so that, again, you're going to give people more information as it becomes available. So that is brilliant. But there's a couple other sheets that you may or may not know about. Now, have you done a sell sheet for your book? And do you know what that is?
No.
Okay. A sell sheet, it is similar to the media sheet, but it also, here, I'm going to go find one that I've got on here. So a sell sheet has more information about your book. And okay, got one in.
Is that the specifications, like page number, ISBN number?
Yep,
Okay.
It's the whole Megillah. I did one of these for one of my very first clients, and I also did her book cover and all of this. I had recently another client, and let me grab that so we can take a look at that. Here's the one that I did. Okay, we're going to open that one. Okay, so this is historical fiction. Yours is not historical fiction. His is. So Bill Lynch is a journalist. He's an award-winning journalist, and his family used to own the local newspaper, which is no longer local, but the Sonoma Index Tribune was in their family, was in the Lynch family for 125 years. But he took his experiences as someone who lived through the Vietnam War, and he fictionalized this story, and he named it Mekong Bell. Well, his original designer he designed this cover, but they made the sell sheet so dark and gloomy, and it's a love story. It didn't match. It was like, oh my goodness. So instead of that, I said, let's lighten this up a bit and make it a little more visually appealing. And this is what you'll be able to do as well. So there are two people who gave really solid blurbs about the book. And then here's the information about the book itself. Here's a picture of the book cover, the ISBN number. This is the publishing group he went with. And then just like on your media sheet, you also are going to have your contact information. So if somebody wanted to buy the book, they know where to go to get it, because here we have the link right here. But if they didn't want to buy it through that link, they could walk into a local bookstore and say, oh, here's the ISBN number. Do you carry this book? Which, by the way, here's here's a sneaky secret. If you want more bookstores to carry your book, do exactly that. Walk in the door and say, do you have this book in stock? And you can ask your friends to do that too. And get inquiries, they will start carrying your book. That is, if your book is available through a catalog like Ingram Spark, which, of course, you want it to be widely available. But it's best that people go to your website and you direct them to where you want to buy the book. So that's another thing that you will want to have. And that's very handy when you're going to live events. And Deborah, you know, we had the author launch for Redwood Writers, but there's lots of trade shows where you would be, you know, have a booth, you'd have your sell sheet, you may be selling to other retailers that who would like to buy your book so they can pick it up, or organizations. And now, especially since you've been in the healthcare field, there's a lot of opportunities for you that other people might not have. And so I'm just curious, what kinds of things have you thought about so far to increase your visibility?
So the American Academy of Nurse Practitioners annual meeting was in San Diego last month, and I had hoped my book would have been ready, but it wasn't. That was where I was going to premiere it.
Ah,
There's also state nurse practitioner associations. And even if I don't show up, I can have my information put in their newsletters.
mm-hmm.
And so that is one area. And then regular RN groups, there are many, many. And I've approached people in the wound care industry
Oh,
because it's written on the 4 stages of wound healing. I have got a good review from somebody in the National Wound Care Nursing Association. I'm planning on sending it for reviews, Kirkus reviews, that kind of thing,
mm-hmm.
to get it out. Churches. I'm a certified lay speaker with the United Methodist Church. I can offer seminars, that kind of thing, and let information be known about my book. As a matter of fact, I'm scheduled to speak in October at the National Health Ministries Association, which is a national group of chaplains, social workers, nurses that work with churches to promote health, kind of the old-fashioned parish nurse concept.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be speaking at that. It's a Zoom conference for 3 days, and I have 1 hour in that conference.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, I'm getting my PowerPoint ready this week for that.
Oh, great. Well, you've already got some ideas and that I think will make a big difference. And the thing is, you've spent 40 years in the health industry. You've got connections. And starting with people who you already know and who already know you is a very smart move because they already trust you. And that's usually the biggest hurdle. It's like, well, who is this person? They wrote a book, so what? Why should I read your book? You know, why is this important, and why are you the expert? And you've answered those questions. You know in your heart who you are, and you know why you're there speaking. If you had the perfect outcome once your book goes live, what would that be for you?
I would say 30,000 sales within a month just to get it launched. That's pretty huge. You asked what my perfect outcome would be initially.
Yeah.
I am also scheduled on a few podcasts coming up. I interviewed with 70 podcast and radio hosts and journalists, and have sent them my speaker sheet,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm in their Rolodex, so to speak, and several of them seemed very interested. But mainly, I would think it would be a snowball effect. One group really likes, I want to premiere it during National Nurse Practitioner Week, which is in November. It was going to be in May for Nurses Week.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also marketing kind of under the premise that nurses are the #1 most trusted profession in over the last 25 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, you all have so much responsibility, and I think a lot of folks don't recognize that doctors don't do it all. They do part of the work, but that you do a big portion of it. And without good nursing staff, it's nearly impossible for any doctor that I know to accomplish what they need to do in the day. And I've seen the differences. As I was saying, that my doctor, Dr. Weisbein, her staff, they are on it. They follow up with the insurance, they follow up with the patients, they follow up with any of the vendors of devices that they're working with. They don't just sit back and eat bonbons. They make things happen. And I've seen what it looks like when you don't have a good staff. So it's important. So this makes me wonder another question for you. Are you doing this all by yourself, or where are you getting support to do your book launch?
My book is considered a hybrid, self-published, and I have hired people to help me.
Uh-huh.
And I have somebody who's going to be helping me with my book trailer
Yeah.
and just a little video about me. And I hope to have both of those on my website. I have a website designer working with me. I am currently thinking of hiring a publicist as well.
Well, tell me a little bit more. What do you expect a publicist to do for you?
I would hope they would help me become more visible. I realize I'm pretty much the one that's doing the work,
Yes.
but maybe they'll find some areas I might have missed or have some connections that I don't have and help me make those connections.
Well, that's exactly the kind of thing I love doing, and that I've helped my other authors with their visibility. And some of it, there are good publicists, but a lot of them talk a good game, but they don't actually deliver. And it really depends on, finding the right person and getting evidence that they can do what they say that they're going to do. Um, you may know this because I've said it in the past, but I'm so not into bro marketing. I work with my authors to help them develop their personal brand, their messaging that matches. Then you're not ever feeling like you're marketing. You're never feeling like you're sales talking. You're simply sharing your story with people in front of the right people at the right time. And from there, they will continue to ask you questions. When they like what you're saying, when they trust you, I mean, it's the know, like, trust. That has not diminished in any way, shape, or form. But we've got a lot of people who think they can game it. But I know, just from knowing you, you have such integrity that when people hear you speak, they know that it's coming from the heart, and that you have people's best interests at heart, so that you're not trying to tell them something that isn't true. You're sharing real stories, you're sharing your life experience, and you're making it accessible. Plus you're willing to listen to see how you can help people. So I think you you actually know a lot already, but now putting it into place, you may need some help with the structure of, how you go about it. And that's kind of what my bees method is about. It's really giving you a simple framework, and then you get to build it out. And I can support you to do that too. So let me ask this. So you're thinking about a publicist, but where do you feel, so I know you don't have as much visibility yet, but you're doing everything you've said so far, you're doing the right stuff. But where do you think you might need some extra, maybe a little extra lifting?
Well, I did a lot of thinking about that, and I came up with a 6-page branding uh, document for me,
Yeah.
kind of looking at who I am, what my message is,
Uh-huh.
and how I will connect with the readers, looking at their needs and their values. So I kind of have a healing, empowerment, and authenticity are kind of like my main branding points.
Yes.
And the pillars of my branding messages all reflect around resilience and recovery, empowerment and wellness, faith and grace, and wisdom through lived experience. So that's, I feel, is unique to me. Now, maybe there's other people like me, but that's kind of what I came up for my brand.
Mm-hmm.
Compassionate, grounded in real life experiences. And then I came up with a few taglines, color palettes, font, all that kind of
Yep.
stuff. And I trying to look at consistency across platforms.
Yes.
Now, my book cover is not consistent with this branding plan I just came up with.
Oh.
And the person the package deal that I got to help me as a hybrid self-publisher is working on the cover.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know how important it is to change the colors on the book cover or not. It's close, but not exactly. So I have kind of this outline in my mind. I know things that I want to do on the website. I'm
Mhm.
starting a blog,
Yeah.
healing stories, faith reflections. I have several giveaways, reader guides for the general public,
Yeah.
for advanced practice nurses, because I can tweak them differently
Right.
looking at the outline of my book.
Yeah.
I have several endorsements from high profile people. I'll have that on the website as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess you asked me, where do I need the help most? I would say my social media, Facebook page has been a personal one, and I only have about 400 to 500 friends on it, and mostly they're professional friends. And I have been very conscious to not post negative things
Oh,
for the last several years, knowing that I'm writing this book.
yeah.
Um, However, I did start a professional Facebook page, which has no friends right now. So I don't know if there's a way to
Ah,
transfer them over. So that's one hurdle I need.
okay.
And using Instagram consistently
Mm-hmm.
with visual storytelling and quotes and personal messages, that kind of thing,
Right.
that I hope to use that in like a 3-month launch or campaign to really promote the book.
Yeah.
So Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, they all need to be beefed up. They're very unprofessional looking right now, in my opinion. I need to figure out what I would like to use for a banner. I don't have a banner. I have general things and general color palettes on the website.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I'm at, needing help probably with that social media platforms,
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
And then from what you've seen, you've looked over my work. Where do you think I need help?
Well, this is interesting. So you, yeah, and we all kind of start out with, here's our personal stuff. And you can make a decision. You can, because you've done what you said. You really curated your personal brand on your Facebook. You didn't put stuff in there that you wouldn't want your grandma to see. That's kind of the test. My grandmother.
And I didn't do politics except for the day after the King's
Oh,
parades.
yeah,
I blew it. I reposted every parade.
thank God. Yeah, there's some of us that we can't keep our mouth shut about that. I have more
The world
difficulty.
needs to know.
It's hard. It's hard, but I'm kind of the same way. I mean, there's most everything that you see on I have a personal and I have a business page too. But I always put
I also have a business page. My business is Palmer Aces.
okay. And you can decide, I'm going to focus on one. I'm going to do all three of them. I'm going to do two of them. There's no right answer to this one.
Okay.
And some people will tell you, oh, you've got to do blah, blah, blah. Nah, no, that is not the critical issue. The critical issue is, can people find you? Can they find you easily? And you talked about having your brand, making it consistent across the different platforms. That is far more important than which of the things you pick, which platform you pick. Because ultimately, what you're doing is the social platforms are a cocktail party. And you're going to a cocktail party, or you're going out for fun. But what you want is to bring people into your world. So, do you have an email service at this point, or are you using personal email?
I have a business, and with my business website, which is Palmer Aces,
Hmm.
I have an email address, Deborah@palmeraces.com. However, I need help. My web designer is supposed to get on it and help me figure out why I'm not able to link it up with my phone and easily access it.
Oh, now that's very odd. Um, that's kind of odd. So,
I mean, I've been paying for it for a year. My monthly Google, what is it? Google Workplace or something like that.
okay. So that's a different question. When I said, do you have an email service? So I have an all-in-one system, but I also am, which is through Go High Level. But I also am a constant contact expert. And whenever I have a new client, that's usually where I take them. I put them through constant contact for this reason and this reason above all else: superior customer service. You can pick up the telephone and talk to a person during business hours, and they will help you if something doesn't make sense. But they've got tutorials, they've got resources. Their stuff gets delivered, and they just went through this major revamp. So now the tool is better than ever. It's what we use for Redwood Writers. We use it for the entire California Writers.
I'm familiar with it. I used it. I was a chapter president for a nursing group before we had websites, and that's what we used.
Exactly. So you can have events, you can get paid through there, you can do automation sequences, but setting things up in constant contact of all of the services, and I've studied them, it is still the easiest, most reliable, and they're there to help you if something doesn't work. So you
Well, does it work in conjunction with a email address that I got through my Google Workspace that ties in
uh-huh.
with my business, palmeraces.com? I didn't want it to be at gmail.com
Oh,
or at my website at hostgator.com.
yeah.
So I paid an extra fee
Hmm.
so it would look more professional. Will that be another? I know it'll be another fee on top of that, but do they work together? Do you
Oh
know?
yeah. With constant contact, you can link. I mean, you can link a Gmail. I just don't. I always tell people, you want to own your name, you want to own your brand. Make it simple. So if everybody knows you, or they know the business name, that's great. But you can have multiple emails associated with your constant contact account, and you verify them, and then it will show exactly that. It show, so this is embarrassing. I have a lot of email addresses. I'm kind of an addict, and I have several websites. So I've got my Buzzworthy books. I've got my previous one, which was Book Marketing Mentor, but I have them linked. And so if I wanted to send something out under a campaign under Judy B at Book Marketing Mentor, I could, or I can send it out under Buzzworthy Books. Either one, I can do that. And you can do that with constant contact. And like for California Writers Club, we have we have multiple admin people who are in there. So we've got like 5 or 6 different folks who can send out an email as if it was from them, because it is, rather than only one person. But that's a different level. But part of the reason part of the reason I really suggest strongly starting there, whenever you're using an email service, you have complete control over the contacts that are in there. It's a database, and you can export them in, I mean, export them out. You can export in who you already have, as long as you've gotten explicit permission. And so you're never stuck with one provider if suddenly you don't like them anymore. You can take your toys and go somewhere else. But you brought up something else too. You said, I've got people on my Facebook page, but I don't have people on my company page. And no, you can't put them into your company page, but you can invite those people in. And just like, I had another career before I started doing what I'm doing now. You had a career before you started being an author. So you want to let everybody, you,
Oh, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
yeah, you invite them. You say, oh, by the way, I have a new book coming out. And if you'd like to follow my trajectory and help me out with this, here's where to go to get more information. So you get to direct people where you want them to go. But ultimately, you want people to enroll into your email. So you give them something, you offer something, and then they are on your list so that you can have a one-to-one conversation. Because that's all marketing is. It's a conversation.
I think my website hosting plan includes that.
It probably does. It probably does. But then it's your job to be sure you're checking those comments and managing that. But that if that works for you, that's great. If it
Nothing's working yet.
is working yet, I think you and I are going to need to talk offline about this because I think I
Okay.
know where some of
Okay.
the key things are. And that's the thing. When we're first setting things up, they're going to be a little messy. And for those of you authors out there who don't like messy, don't stick your fingers in your ears. This is facts of life. You're going to do stuff, you're going to try stuff, and it maybe isn't perfect, but better that you get your face out there, that you make connections. You can always make things better. In the
Okay.
Yeah, and the whole concept being the the lean product model, the minimum viable product. So if you get up a one-page website, that's better than zero. And I cannot tell you how many times somebody comes to me and I go to look for them and I can't find them anywhere. I mean, nowhere. They're not on any social platforms. They don't have a website. They don't have a presence. They are invisible. They are literally invisible. And because so many books are produced every year, if you're not findable, I mean, two things that I do whenever I hear about a new author. Go and see if I can find their website. Is their book available? Where is it available? Can I find it? And if I can't find it, I'm thinking, why did you spend all that time writing the book? You have a message and a meaning, and now you've made it impossible for anybody to actually purchase your book. So you're ahead of the game with that. And the things that are not working yet, it may be that they need calibration. Some connection hasn't been made yet, but you've got the elements and you can always build from there. So you're fortunate in that you don't have to undo a lot of stuff. You just have to you just need to make sure the stuff that you do have is connecting the way that you need it to. So how much time do you think you spend on a regular basis, and in which, so you mentioned Instagram and you mentioned Facebook. Where do you spend any time on social, or is that something you'd like not to ever see again?
Generally speaking, my experience has been as a observer
Yeah.
on Facebook, an occasional reposter of things that I think are worthy of being reposted. Very minimal has been my experience.
Mm-hmm.
I recognize that will have to change during my marketing and launching of the book. I'm probably going to have to beef up my skill set significantly in use of Instagram. I've been told that's probably more followed than Facebook right now.
I think, yeah, I would.
And I was also told to look at Book Talk. Are you familiar with that?
Um, well,
And Substack.
okay. I'm sorry. I was afraid you were going over to TikTok, which I'm.
No, Book Talk, I think, is part of TikTok. Now I just heard that's being sold. by the Heritage to the Heritage Foundation. I don't know if that's a fact. So I was told to look into Book Talk and Substack. I do have the Substack app on my phone, and frankly, I'm confused what I'm supposed to do with it. Unless it's maybe like repost stuff that's on my blog. Like I have 3 months worth of blog question and answer things. I'm going to start by the 1st of August that are related to the book, and to get engagement and get people to like, reply, respond, or comment about, and then repost my podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
my interviews, that kinds of things, and ask for comments and share them.
Okay, you're already thinking in a very effective way. Substack, just for those of you who are just reading things on Substack, it is a great place to meet authors and creative people. Setting up a Substack is not complicated, but there are lots of steps. And the reason why I'm telling you this is one of my dear friends, and let's see, I've got his latest book on my desk. One of my dearest friends is Brett Ridgway, and he just recently published this book, The 50 Biggest Online Business Mistakes. So Brett's background is he was part of the back of the room sales when digital marketing first emerged. He created 3 different businesses, including author fulfillment. And that was back in the days, we used to send out CDs. Oh my God, this is like ancient history. But people would send out their books and CDs and other, materials through the mail. We didn't have all this digital stuff. And I mean, like we do now. And so he created that, and that business is still in existence. And so many people who do a lot of author talks and trade shows and things, they're still using those services because those guys will deliver your stuff so you don't have to schlep it around. So what I really think is impressive with Substack, I said to Brett, because Brett started a podcast 3 years ago. So he's been doing that for 3 years. And when he started it, he had 0 people on his contact list who were consumers. He had all the people he had worked with when he was in the fulfillment business, but that wasn't what he's doing now. Now he has a spotlight on speaking. He's training people how to be effective when they're speaking on stage, on podcasts, at events. And he didn't have anybody to stick in his list. I said, well, sweetie, you've got a pretty big footprint in the industry. Why don't you start a newsletter on LinkedIn? So he did. And it now has, let's see, that one has, I think, 900 subscribers. And then he started another newsletter for the 2 of us, and it's called the Buzzworthy Book Bulletin. And we have 800 subscribers. But he built both of those up from a 0 to the numbers that we're at now within 6 months. And now this is so incredible. I have a friend who wrote the ultimate LinkedIn book. That would be Ted Perdomo. He is a friend of mine. I've known him for, I think, 30 years now. We were babies when we first met. But he figured out what worked on LinkedIn. And so he wrote the first book, then he wrote the second edition and the third edition. But he said, the thing is, when you send out a newsletter on LinkedIn, everybody can see it and people can subscribe to it. Which is why Substack is also a good choice. Because if nobody's heard of me, are they going to go find Judy M. Baker? No. But if they're on LinkedIn, and even if I don't know them, but they see my newsletter because it's visible to everybody, suddenly I'm getting eyeballs, I'm getting looks, I'm getting outreach to me because people thought I wrote a good article. And this is the biggest mind blower of ever. you start doing that, and instead of doing a post, because a post is, is just right there on your profile, you do a newsletter, and you can do as many as there's not a limit on LinkedIn. You can have unlimited newsletters. You send out a newsletter and you invite people to subscribe, but you also invite them wherever else you want them to connect with you, so you have that information in there. It boosts your rankings in all the search engines, because that LinkedIn newsletter may be the first, when your name comes up, that'll be the first thing that gets seen. So there is a really good resource, and because you were in a profession, it would make perfect sense to do this. So creating a LinkedIn newsletter and creating a Substack makes perfect sense, because you can have almost identical content on both of them. So you do your content creation, and then you say, okay, how am I going to slice this and put it here? How am I going to slice it and put it there? And like you said, with your podcast, if you are a podcast host, of course you're going to have your podcast on Substack, because you already did the work. All you're doing is putting a little sentence and a link, and now people can find you on Substack. They can find you on any of the podcast directories. It is incredible. So that's kind of the way I look at it too. So I'm saying, okay, we've got this one pen. How many places would I be looking for a pen? Like office supply store, grocery store, Costco. I might find one at the post office. I might find it at, maybe I got it customized, so I'd find it on a website that does customization. I I tell everybody this, and you'll love it because you were in the healthcare profession. How many places can you find baking soda in the grocery store? You have an idea?
Maybe two.
Okay, what are the two places you would look for baking soda?
Cleaning supplies and baking supplies.
You nailed it. But it's also in the area, if someone is saying, "Oh, you need to get your stinky refrigerator smelling better," it's right there. They sell baking soda at our local hardware store. They sell it at the grocery store. You can buy it online, but they put it where people who have a particular need that they're trying to solve, they have the baking soda right where they are looking for it. Oh, it's also for brushing your teeth. And I know there's other things you can do with it, but right there, the baking soda has not changed. It's the same package in each of those locations. But if I'm looking for it in my cleaning supplies, I don't have to go over to the cooking aisle. It's in the cleaning supplies. If I'm looking to brush my teeth, it's right there. And that's what, as authors, we kind of need to think a little differently, that where is it likely someone would be looking for the solution? And so putting yourself on Substack is fabulous. And it's similar, it kind of grows the same way that Instagram does. You put your stuff up, but you follow people and they follow you back. And so then you get a reputation in it from there. And the number of people I have met, both in real life and virtually, because I either heard them on a podcast and then I went and saw their link on Instagram. It is incredible. So those are really valuable assets. But again, you get the emails when you do it on Substack. You don't get emails on LinkedIn, but they both have a purpose. And as a nonfiction author, definitely want to, check that out. So I think, in terms of bringing your skill set up, it's probably not going to be that difficult, because I already can see that you understand how to do that. And let me see that. I'm going to continue that. Okay. It was asking.
Like I have a daughter who said she uses Canva
Oh,
to create all of her posts. And in my branding kit, I have, the same color background and font and all that I would use across platforms, maybe slight variations of
yeah,
the same colors and fonts, depending on which platform it's on.
right.
But I think I could create it in Canva. I've got the color palette, I've got the fonts, but I have to learn how to create it and then use that and
Yeah,
place it in different platforms.
exactly. And that's, when I was saying, you need to be very visible, working with someone like me, I can help you create those templates that then you can reuse so that you don't have to spend your time trying to figure all that stuff out. You can learn it.
Judy,
Oh,
Judy,
yeah.
you won't believe what I did today.
What'd you do today?
To get my 6-page document, I went to AI
Yes.
and
Oh,
it
God,
gave
you did.
me all the templates that I need.
Isn't that brilliant?
The color palettes, the fonts
Yeah.
from Canva.
Yeah. That,
But I still don't know what I'm doing.
well, but you are teachable, you're trainable, you listen, you implement what you learn. And if anything would stand out to you, it's that it's this approach that you start where you start and you can continue to grow from there, and that you don't have to learn it all in one day because,
That's
oh,
true.
let's face it,
Yeah.
that's not likely to happen. And I know, I mean, I'm constantly adding to my toolkit. I'm constantly evaluating, do I want to keep this thing or get rid of it? But I am so convinced. Um, well, it kind of grew out of this is situation. I was recently diagnosed that I have ADHD. Now I've had it since I was born.
Oh boy.
Oh, I know. Um, most creative people do have it. So
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
knowing that, but now that I know that, now I know where things were getting jammed up in my production, and I found other tools that are keeping me more productive, less stressed, and now that I know what wasn't quite clicking for me, it has nothing to do with my intelligence because that's
Judy, I knew it when I was waiting for Zoom. You had breathing exercises to be patient and just do these breathing while I was waiting to get on
ah,
your Zoom page.
exactly.
Yeah, I can tell you're using these
I
tools.
am. And
And by the way, I am so impressed with what you've accomplished, and you're kind of a role model for people as they get over 50, that you can keep going, or retired,
yeah,
you can create a new something. You've really shown that, Judy.
oh,
Your enthusiasm and your passion for what you do, it's inspiring.
well, that really touches my heart. And, because I've always been a creator and I've always loved sharing what I learn. And I think it is so important that, I mean, that's the way I learn. It's by, I get some information and then I teach somebody else. And I have fun with it and I don't let things get me really too stuck. But I had to laugh because when I had the idea to do the Power Hour, I said, well, okay, I've used Restream and I've used StreamYard, and I know there's some other things out there. So I said, well, I'm going to go with StreamYard because I've used it before, not knowing how much they had changed the interface the
Oh,
last time I was in charge of it. And oh, it was just too funny. And I said, well, okay, if I'm going to use this, I better brush up my skills. And what I did is similar to what you just did. I said, okay, let me go on. I went on YouTube and I said, find some tutorials for using StreamYard. And as I was watching this one, the guy says, oh, but there's another tool that you might want to check out that you might like better. And it happens to be the one we're on right now, which is Ecamm Studio or Ecamm Live. I'm sorry. I keep wanting to call it Studio, but it's Ecamm Live. They also do have a studio thing. And I looked at it. I said, well, I have that on my computer, but I haven't used that for, I don't know. I don't remember when I even put it on my computer. So I loaded it up and I entered into the trial and I said, well, let me see what it does. Cause before I do another subscription, oh, which they're choking me. Um, let me see if I like this. And I loaded it in, did the update. The comparison between StreamYard and Ecamm Studio, night and day. And since you're on a Mac also, you can be a host.
I'm not on a Mac.
Oh, you're not. Oh, I thought you were.
That's why I couldn't open it, because it said I had to have the browser for the Mac. What do you
Oh,
call it? Safari.
most.
But I have it on my phone, but
Gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Ecamm is only for Safari?
No, Ecamm is no, it's not. But
Oh,
it's for the Mac OS for the host. So if you aren't on a Mac system, then not so much.
got it.
You could do it. You could do it from your phone. You actually could do it from your phone. But I don't advise trying to run a show from your phone because you can't see everything because it
Right.
may be bigger than it used to be, but it's still too little. So what I thought was funny is so I opened this up and I went, oh, this is like a candy store. Not only that, it integrates with two other pieces of software that I already use. And so I can take this recording, I can bump it right over to Descript where I'm going to, add scenes, clean anything up that needs to be cleaned up. Not very much, however. But the quality of the recording is infinitely better than what I had on StreamYard or Restream. It can connect to more destinations. So depending on how many social platforms you have, that's
I
an
see.
advantage. So you can have your business page, you can have your personal page in any of the flavors there, and it integrates with Zoom. So you don't even have to train anybody to do anything different. They can just log in using Zoom. You don't have to tell them, "Oh, come in this."
Judy, why don't you use just Zoom or just Teams on Microsoft? Because don't they have all the same features? You can record it, you can edit it.
They have similar but not the same quality of the recording.
Okay. Okay.
And yeah, and so there's some other things, but yes, you can basically, it's like when people used to ask me in the old days, they would say, "Well, how did you make that document?" And I say, are you going to edit it? No. Do you care? No. Do you like how it looks? Mm-hmm. Because my answer was always this. I could have done it in Photoshop. I could have done it in InDesign. I could have done it in Illustrator. I could have done it in PageMaker. I could have done it in Quark. So unless you're going to edit it, it doesn't matter to you. You want the product. You don't want the sausage making in the back room.
Exactly.
So
Okay.
I don't get hung up on that. I just look at what's the result you're trying to produce. Then let's find the tools to help you do it because you can get to that result in many, many ways. But if you already know a certain piece of software and you're comfortable in it, use it. You can change later, but you don't have to. And I
Got
think
it.
Canva is also brilliant. Even though I have the Adobe Creative Suite and I've been using it I've been using the Adobe product since 1988.
Wow.
Holy moly. It was before it was even a thing. I used the pre-launch version of Illustrator. So, like I said, I've used all of those toys. I've used all the Microsoft toys. I know all of that stuff, but I know which things I like better and which things I don't like so much. And my husband, unfortunately, he has to use a PC because he has to use AutoCAD. Even though the Mac version of that type of software was better, AutoCAD had bigger marketing budget. So he's been doing that. But all of his other devices are Apple.
Good to know. Yeah.
Yeah. So so Deborah, what I'm saying to you is take a look at what you're comfortable in, and if you're comfortable with the Microsoft environment, everything's in there. You can use all of it. And there are hooks to all of the other things. And that's what I'm looking for now. I'm not using software that is a one trick pony. If I can use it, I can use Canva and I can now do other things with it. I use something else for a lot of what I do. I use a software, it's an AI generation software called Gamma. And the reason why I use Gamma, it has way better imaging than Canva. Now, for just doing regular stuff, I'll use Canva every day of the week. But once I started doing stuff in Gamma, oh my God, I can do, just like in Canva, I can do presentations. I can do a website there. I can do forms there. I can make a PDF. I can do all the bells and whistles. So now, instead of using Canva to do presentations, I pretty much do everything in Gamma, and I can control my imaging and, stay with my brand colors, stay with all my goodies. It's such a dream, but the tool is not the issue. What is at the heart of being an effective brand is establishing your brand message first, establishing your colors, establishing, where you want to show up, what you want to be known for, and then making sure people can find you. And it sounds like you've got the basics covered, but this is where I can really help you. I can help you have a cohesive plan that fits you, the amount of time you want to spend, the amount of money you want to spend, and hopefully what we're building is something scalable so that if you want to hand part of it off, you'll be able to do that. But you'll have a grounding to know how it works so that if you hire someone to then, execute the postings, you're not going to be lost in the weeds going, well, I'm so dependent on them and I could never do anything on my own. I want the people who work with me, I want to empower them to know as much as they want to know, to learn as much as they want to learn, and to know when they don't want to do it, that there are other options. You don't have to do it all. And no book gets produced as a one-man band. It just doesn't. I mean, Deborah, you've worked with a hybrid publisher, you've worked with a designer, you've worked with an editor, maybe more than one editor. And don't you feel like that experience made the product a richer and better product?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh my.
I didn't know what I was doing.
Well,
I've been a scientific writer, not a creative writer.
And it definitely is different. I mean, I've got several friends, that's their background. Linda McCabe, who is a past president of Redwood Writers, she actually is a scientific researcher, and she writes historical fiction. Why do you think she's so good at it? She knows how to research everything. So she knows where all the bodies.
Is she the one that did? Is she the one that she did? Not the one that did the tiger burlesque? That wasn't her.
No. That one is Rebecca Rosenberg. Linda McCabe doesn't live real close to us any longer, and actually, she's in France right now. She's doing another research project. I know she's doing another research project, but she learned
historical fiction is my next book.
Oh my
I've already decided. I already know what it's about.
Well, Rebecca and Linda are two of the best. They are just geniuses. And then oh God, I'm losing his name. He wrote the Golf at Norwood. It's John.
Oh, I met him.
Yes.
I met him. What a nice guy. Yeah.
Very nice.
I was at the main, yeah.
Yes. And what was interesting, so John's book, what happened, this was so crazy. And I think you saw that too. There was Jesse Ballou, who I took graphic design classes from when I was in college. And so Jesse knew all the characters in John's book in real life. And so there's all these crazy, crazy connections. But that's the fun.
Yeah,
That's the fun part. When you bring other people into the party,
exactly.
magic appears.
I get it, Judy. I get it. So tell me what you offer and what you cost.
I
Let's get to the point.
We'll get to the point. So what you and I are going to do is we're going to sit down. So today you got a taste of this. We're going to sit down together because I don't want to be all sneaky and funny with everybody that's out there. But yes, I do charge money for what I do. And
Of course you do.
what we're going to do is look at exactly where you feel you need support, what you want to accomplish, and the timing in which you want to accomplish it. And then we'll create a custom plan for you. Because what you're going to do isn't going to be what I'm going to do when I launch my book. And I'm eating my own dog food right now. I promised everybody in my mastermind group, I know this is so, I'm going, oh boy, I'm really on the hook now. I have been screwing around. I have this, which is my attraction guide, which is a PDF, but I have the Buzzworthy book blueprint, which I kept going, but I need to put more in it. I need to put more in it. I used that. It was a workbook that I used for a course that I did. It doesn't stand by itself because you need my instruction. So I just kept making it impossible to get done. So I said, oh, you know what I'm going to do instead?
Did you hire somebody to help you?
Well, I have two mentors I'm working with. But what I did instead is, do you see these three books? So Deborah Myers was my client for 35 years. And we started working on she has a huge manual. I mean, it's this thick because she's had 40 years of experience as an acupressurist. But I said, before we do the big manual, why don't you do a small book, pick part of the book, and publish it as a short book? So she did. She did these two, and these are not the two original covers because they had a different cover, slightly different cover. So she published these two, and then later she did the self-help for grown-ups. But this came out of her classes that she was teaching, live before COVID hit. And she decided to do this, and this was in 2012. And then lo and behold, 2013, we're still working on it, and we just about ready to go. And then I got cancer. So I couldn't put two sentences together, basically. But I had already designed the books, and we hired a third person to then produce the books, to get them up on Amazon, to get them up on Ingram. And another friend of hers is a visual artist, and Jamie did an animated whiteboard video that illustrated the principles in the books. And so Deborah produced the books. And then when COVID hit, guess what? We turned that into a course that she could teach online. And so she's been making at least $10,000 every year since she produced the books. So she's added money to her inventory, into her bank account, and she didn't have to do a whole lot of extra stuff. And I just babysat her on the first video. But I said, well, if that's what we did with her manual, maybe
You can
I'm gonna
do
do a
it.
little book. So the first book is the bee in the bees method. So branding, I'm gonna have my first messy draft ready for my mastermind on Friday. So I told everybody, and I can't fail on that. So that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna do four books in the series. I mean, there may be others down the road, but I'm going to do the smaller books because I know I can focus on one piece of it. And as someone with ADHD, yeah, I could get distracted for days, which is what's been happening, but I can focus. And this is the other reason why this makes sense. When I did 5 articles. I did 5 newsletters on LinkedIn about the bees method. My engagement was through the roof. I had never gotten very many looks or likes or, people would comment. Nope, none of that. First one goes out, and the next day I'm seeing, oh, you had 300 people. Look at what? I had how many? What? And,
Wow.
yeah, and then I kept doing it, and I kept getting engagement. So that told me that I'm on to the right messaging. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I am this. But
And I like that you're using a mastermind class. I took
oh
a class with Jack Canfield, and he
yes,
highly recommended mastermind classes
they one of the reasons I love
for
mastermind.
groups.
Yes, I've run them. And Deborah she was in two of my masterminds. She doubled her income both times. Doubled her income just by saying, here's what I want to do, and then reporting back next week. And then if she didn't do the work, the question was never, well, why are you telling me this? The rule in my mastermind was you could bring things up twice, and if you didn't work on them, went into the parking lot. I don't want to hear about it because obviously that's not,
Smart.
yeah, it's not what
Yeah.
your heart is.
You gotta have healthy boundaries, goals, objectives,
Yeah,
and accountability.
absolutely. And I think truthfully, that's where I shine is I'm your accountability buddy. I will support you, but you have to want it, and I can't want it more than you do. So I'm not going to tell you you must do all of these things. We're going to co-create the plan that matches where you are, and it's all
Okay.
open for revision. So that's what we're.
Well, that's what I've been doing for the last year and a half with this group to get me this far. And I just got my production schedule between August and September. All the final things will be done, the ebook and the print. What I didn't tell you is I just got my manuscript back. It's been transcribed in Spanish. And
Awesome.
I need you for that
Okay.
because I don't know how to do the loading up onto Ingram Sparks and Instagram, and I got to do the book cover for that. I think it should be a little different, more culturally appropriate. So, yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm going to be hiring an audiobook reader.
Okay. I've got several good resources for you for the audiobook. So there's three different companies I adore, and all of them
Really?
are good. But again, you need to have a match. So why don't we'll wrap up our live coaching right now. This has been so much fun. And it's so delightful to see someone who has already embraced the fact that, yeah, it's not just, oh, my book's for sale. Everyone's going to find it. No, they're not. So you're being realistic with that, which I really applaud you for that. And it can take as much time in your life or it can take as little time as you want to devote to it. But you have the right mindset. You've invested in yourself, you've invested in your book, and this has just been delightful. So what I will do after the recording, after we end the broadcast, I will be editing this. I don't have to do much editing, so very little editing. And I'll send that to you, and then it'll be posted it'll be on YouTube, and I'll send you the links, and you can use pieces as you wish. If there's anything in there that you want to keep and share,
I might be able to put some on my website.
I
Would that be okay?
absolutely.
And I'll plug your name, Buzzworthy Books.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Of course.
That
Of
was really
course.
the idea here. Not only do I love doing this, but yeah, I actually want to get hired. I want to get paid for doing what I do. And
Judy, the end of my book, the summary is healing is a daily reciprocal giving and taking. We never heal without giving up and taking on our gifts, our talents, our resources. It could be kind words. It's a continuous daily cycle. It's not an end point. And so this is a classic example.
oh my gosh. Well, thank you again, Deborah. And I will be in touch with you. If you want to stay on Zoom, let me end the broadcast and then we can talk for just a couple more minutes. But thank you all.
Okay.
We're here live. I appreciate it. And if you're watching the recording, you can always get in touch. Let me just show you how you can see a little bit more about us. Bring that on to the scene. Why are we not going there? It should just be popping right up. Of course it isn't. There we go. There we go again. So here's how to get in touch with Deborah. You can find her at deborahpalmer.com. You can find me at buzzworthybooks.com. And you can pre-order the book right now on her website. And if you want to get my attraction guide, you can do that by either using the QR code, just scan that, or the link is down below. And thank you all, and have a pleasant rest of your day. Let me just end the meeting.